Welcome back. Now, having introduced you to the three common voices, let's now dive into how God speaks through our inner self, or the still small voice, as I call it. The first thing I want to lay the foundation with is observing God's character and nature so that in building through this, we can have that as a reference or a mirror with which to understand this teaching series. Romans 8 says, "What can separate us from the love of Christ?" Very important. And notice that in the same chapter began with, "There is therefore now no condemnation to them that are in Christ Jesus." Very important. Now, this is also a build up on something God has said already in John chapter 3, verse 17. "For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him. Therefore, whosoever believed in him is saved already. But whosoever refuses to believe stands condemned, because he has not believed in God's one and only Son." Now, notice the kind of condition God gives. Those who believe, save already. Does that ring a bell? Maybe it will, as I mentioned this. Remember when Jesus was crucified on the cross, there were two criminals on both sides. Now you're with me in the story. One of them mocked at Jesus, but the other one rebuked him. And in his rebuke, he said to Jesus, after he rebuking his friend, "Remember me when you enter your kingdom." Notice the response of Jesus. "Today you will be with me in paradise." Incredible, friends. This is outstanding. The love of God expressed in Christ Jesus. Jesus didn't say to the guy, "Today, if you can confess," no, because the guy believed. He believed this was Jesus, this is God's Son, and he said, "Remember me," without even acknowledging, um, saying to Jesus, "I want to start by acknowledging I'm a sinner." So, friends, this is incredible revelation. So, this is to help you understand that you have the ability to hear God's voice. Um, and if you believe in Christ Jesus, you are not only having the ability to hear God's voice, you're God's son and you are God's daughter. So, pay attention to what you have been hearing inside of you. Notice how he has been speaking to you when you have critical decisions to make. As I remind you of these stories that reveal his character and nature, notice how your mind is taken back now to those events. Because as you are listening to this, God is actually speaking to you right now. I found one of the most classical encounter uh, on how God speaks to us through our inner self that reveal the way our own voice defends is the story of Moses in the burning bush. I know this is not through inner self, but I quote that story to give you something very interesting there. Notice that Moses, instead of internally, is face to face with the expression of God's personality in the burning bush. Then he hears the voice of God. Notice that when Moses hears this voice, he is not forced to commit to say, "Oh yeah, I'm in. I am so sorry. I'm going to lead the people right now. Please don't kill me." No. Apparently, this is first time having this face-to-face encounter, and yet Moses has the freedom, the shalom of heart to say to God, "You've come to the wrong guy. I'm not your guy. You go for someone else." And God tried to walk him through, show him miracles after miracles. And at the end of all the miraculous encounter and experience right before God, Moses said, all of this great God, and yeah, right now I do not have any reasonable doubt that it's someone else. This is you. But as you can see, I don't know how to speak. The Bible says this, and the anger of God was kindled. God became frustrated with Moses, and yet, what did he do? Force him to say, "All right, we're done playing games, Moses. You better go now, or I'm going to kill you." No. He said to Moses, he became frustrated with Moses, and it's okay. I'm going to make, I will make a way out of this. Your brother, I'm going to get him out of bed or wherever he is. I'm going to bring him to meet you on the way. Now, he's going to speak for you. Now, friends, here's something that is incredible about God. And this is the only place in scriptures where you will see God make this decision and walk a human being to function in this way, even after he has completely and categorically said to God, "You're speaking to the wrong person. I am not the person for this job. And there is way too many mistakes in my life. And I can tell that, yeah, you are great, but I tell you what, if you use her, if you use him, I bet you're going to get this job done." To that person, God said these words, "You will be as God to Aaron, and Aaron will be your prophet." This will be quoted by Jesus later on. But friends, pause right there. Think for a moment. If there was ever a time in the life of Moses where God could say to him, "You will be as God," could any of us imagine this time of unbelief before God to be that season? You know, personally, where I thought God should have said to him, "You are God," when he came down from the mountain and his face was glowing with light, and the people said, "We can't stand it, Moses." I sort of think that would be an appropriate place to say to Moses, "You are God. From now, Aaron is your prophet." But no, it is in the place of his greatest unbelief. Notice, he's dealing with unbelief, but God is not quitting on him, neither is God trying to intimidate him and force him and make him feel guilty and just push him to the wall and make him really feel like he's missing out the privilege of standing before God. This is how you can identify God's voice through an inner or still small voice.